Hello, in today's video we'll be changing the oil on this 2003 Toyota Sequoia, which will also be similar for Toyota trucks with a 4.7 liter engine, like the Tundra, 4Runner, and LandCruiser. Before we get started, we're going to need 6.5 quarts of 5W30 oil and an oil filter. And to begin, we'll start by removing the skid plate, which will be held on by 5 bolts. Using a 12mm socket, we'll loosen and remove all 5 bolts. It's probably a better idea to remove the front 3 bolts first, since it'll have hooks to support it at the front as well. Then remove the rear 2 bolts. But here I started with removing the rear 2 bolts, but you'll notice as I'm getting them off, the rear part begins to hang down. So I have to hold it up with my knee so it doesn't bend so much. Now with these 2 rear bolts removed, let's remove the front 3. I'll remove the 2 outer ones first, and then leave the middle one for last. Now with this last bolt, I will hold it up with my knee as I remove it. Once the last bolt's off, just unhook the skid plate from the front by lifting it and sliding it back, and then completely off. And these are the 2 hooks that hold it up here at the front. To drain the oil, we'll need a 14mm, a socket in this case, to loosen and remove the drain bolt from the oil pan. We'll want to rotate it counterclockwise, just to the point that we can loosen the rest by hand. Now once you feel you're getting close to the end of the threads, push up as you rotate, so when you're ready to pull the bolt away, you'll avoid the bolt falling down and control when the flow of oil pours out. Next you'll want to check if the drain bolt comes out with the crush washer, or if it sticks to the oil pan. In this case it stuck to the oil pan, so we'll let that drain till it becomes a slow drip. We're now ready to remove the crush washer. To do this I put the drain bolt on a few threads to catch the washer before it falls. And now just use a pick or a screwdriver to separate the washer from the pan. And once it comes down, we can remove the bolt with the washer. And this washer is meant to crush down and seal every time this drain bolt is tightened, so you don't want to reuse them, because they flatten down and may end up with a ridge that may cause your drain bolt to leak if reused, so it's best to replace them. And here we got our new crush washer. It'll have this coating on both the top and bottom of it. Now we just place it on the drain bolt, wipe the area, and install the bolt by hand first. Then tighten and or torque it to spec. And now one final wipe down. Onto our oil filter. Using an oil filter wrench of your choice, if you can't remove it with your hand that is. In this case I'm using this 3-jaw oil filter wrench. This one adjusts to the size of the oil filter while you rotate it counterclockwise. And as you turn it with the ratchet, the gears cause it to squeeze tighter. Now once you get it loose, just remove the remainder by hand. I like to let it drip out some before I completely remove it. And here you can see an indent from the jaw as you rotate it loose. Now once you're ready to remove it, rotate it off, pull back, and tilt it up. Then flip it over into the drain pan. Now wipe off the area with a clean towel, confirming that the old oil filter O-ring came off with the oil filter. It should look like this. And here we got the new oil filter, and I want to prepare it before install. And to do this I grab a quart of oil and a new filter. And now I pour a small amount of oil, about 1/4 of the oil filter level. Before installing them, I like to put as much oil into the filter as I can. This helps prevent damage at startup to build oil pressure as fast as possible. But since this filter is kind of angled sideways, I can only add a small amount of oil. I also put a little on the side to coat the O-ring with oil, so the gasket seals properly and doesn't get damaged during install. Now before install, let's wipe it down one more time, then install and tighten the oil filter as tight as you can get it by hand only. And if your hand or glove slips, you can use a towel for better grip. With the oil filter tight, let's wipe the area and any places that need it. And with that done, we're ready to add the engine oil. Let's open and remove the oil fill cap, which tells us the oil viscosity recommended for this truck, which is 5W30. And now use a funnel to help add the oil. Now let's go ahead and pour in the 5-quart jug. At this point, I like to check the oil after adding it, just to make sure that we do not overfill it. When removing the dipstick, I like to wipe off the first mark of the old oil. And now we just reinstall the dipstick and check the level. And based on the mark, it shows us that we're low, a little less than a quart. So I'll go ahead and add about half a quart. And now remove the funnel and reinstall the oil fill cap. At this point, we'll want to start it so we can build oil pressure and let the oil circulate throughout the engine, making sure that the oil light goes off and stays off while it's running. After about a minute, we can turn it off. Now we'll want to wait about 5 to 10 minutes for the oil to drop back down into the oil pan. Now after waiting, let's check the oil level, but first wipe out the dipstick so we can clean off the oil that's been splashing around. Now reinstall it and check the oil level. And here we can see that it's at the low mark, so I'll go ahead and add the remainder of the quart. After waiting a few minutes for the oil to drip down, I recheck the oil level again, and we're between the low and the full mark, which is a good mark, but I prefer closer to the full. So now I'll go ahead and add about 1/3 of the other quart. Putting us pretty close to the full mark, so I'm happy leaving it there. Now after confirming no leaks, all we gotta do now is install a skid plate, getting the 2 hooks to slide in first, and then line up all the bolt holes. Now just reinstall the 5 bolts and tighten them. And that just about does it for this video. I hope you found it helpful and informative. If so, please click that thumbs up button to support my video and my channel. And please subscribe if you haven't done so.